Okay, so this is our lesson over 5.3, which is rates. So a rate is a ratio of two quantities using different units. Okay. So if we look down here at this, you pay $27 for 3 pizzas, the rate would be 27 to 3, okay? And we know that this is a rate because it's two quantities using different units. Okay, so our first unit is dollars, that $27, and our second unit is pizzas. Okay, so dollars and pizzas are our units, so that's our rate. So then a unit rate compares a quantity to one unit of another quantity. Okay, so the one unit here is really important, okay? So in our example down here, you can see rate. This is should remind you of our ratios that we dealt with earlier in our last lesson. So it shows A units to B units is a rate, which is what we have. We have 27 to 3. And then a unit rate is A divided by B. So we would do A divided by B to 1 unit. Okay, so if we did that with our first example here, it would be 27 over 3 to 1. Okay, because it's A to B. And so we did 27 divided by 3 to 1 unit. Okay, but we can simplify this. So 27 divided by 3 is 9. So it's 9 to 1 is our unit rate. Okay, so a unit rate is comparing a quantity to one unit of another quantity. So this is saying that if we just bought one pizza, it would be $9. Okay, so when you go to a grocery store, you are going to see rates all over the place. You will see like buy 3 cans, get for $2. So that would be your rate, 3 for $2. And then if we wanted to find the unit rate, we would want to know what the rate is, or what the cost of just 1 can is rather than 2. As we know, it's 3 cans for $2, and we would want to know what it costs for 1 can. And so that's what the unit rate does. Okay. So then we also have equivalent rates, which have the same unit rate. And I will explain that in this example 1 in a second down here. But, so here's another example. You travel 120 miles in 2 hours. So our rate is 120 to 2. So it has the 2 different units. We're in miles and hours. And so to find our unit rate, we have to do A divided by B. 120 is A, 2 hours is B. So we would do 120 divided by 2 to 1. 120 divided by 2 is 60. So it's 60 to 1 is our unit rate. So this shows us that if we traveled 60 miles, it would take us 1 hour. Okay, and this shows us that if we paid $9, we would get 1 pizza. Okay, so 2 things to keep in mind is that the cost is always first. This is going to be super important. So cost is always first. So make a little square around that. Okay, and that's because we want to know how many pizzas we can get for the cost, or how much it's going to cost. Okay, so we do 27 divided by 3, and that gets us the cost of one pizza. Okay, so then this is the same with distance. Distance is always first because we want to know how far you can travel in just 1 hour. Okay. So like it says up here, that unit rate compares a quantity to one unit of another quantity, so it's always to 1. To this one and to this one. Okay. So example 1. The double number line shows the rate at which you earn points for successfully hitting notes in a music video game. Write a rate that represents the situation. So this is showing you that for every note you hit, you get points. Okay. So if you hit 1 note, you get 150 points. If you hit 2 notes, you get 300 points, and so on. Okay. So if I picked one rate from this double number line, let's do 600 to 4. That is my rate that I chose. Okay. If I wanted to find our unit rate, I would do 600 divided by 4 to 1, which ends up being 150 to 1. Okay, so this is our rate, this is our unit rate. Let's pick a different one. So let's do 300 to 2. If I wanted to find the unit rate, I would do 300 divided by 2 to 1, which is 150 to 1. Okay, and you can see that this rate is 150 to 1, and you can't reduce that anymore, so that's also 150 to 1. Okay, so you can see all of these rates are different, but they all have the same unit rate. That means that all of these rates are equivalent rates. So up at the top we wrote that equivalent rates have the same unit rate. Let's see. Okay, so it's kind of like fractions, like 2/4, 1/2, 4/8. They're all going to be equivalent fractions because they all reduce to 1/2. So it's the same thing with these rates. They all reduce to 150 to 1. So they are all the equivalent rates because they have the same unit rate. Okay. So example 2. A piece of space junk travels 5 miles in 8 seconds. How far does it travel per second? Use a ratio table to find the answer. So I'm going to first start by drawing my ratio table. Okay. It says a piece of space junk travels 5 miles in 8 seconds. So I have to figure out what are my two units. It's miles and seconds. Okay. I know that cost and distance always go first. So this one we have distance. Miles is in distance. So I'm going to write distance in miles. And then we have time because it says 8 seconds. Okay. So my ratio that I start out with is 5 miles in 8 seconds. So 5 miles in 8 seconds. Make sure it matches up with your label. 5 miles, 8 seconds. Good. Okay. And that's also the same as saying 5 to 8. That's my ratio. Okay. So it says, how far does it travel per second? So I know that second goes in this column, and this is what I'm trying to get to. So to get from 8 to 1, we divided by 8. So up here, whatever we do to the bottom, we have to do to the top. So we have to divide by 8. So we have 5 divided by 8, which you can put it in a decimal if you want, but I'm just going to leave it as 5/8. And so my answer is 5/8 to 1, or 5/8 miles to 1 second. So that's my unit rate because we're going to 1. The second one always has to be 1 if it is a unit rate. Okay, so that's our final answer. So then example 3. A chef buys 6 pounds of salmon fillets for $51. How much will the chef pay for 9 more pounds of salmon fillets? So I'm going to draw my ratio table. You don't have to use one, but I think it's easier. So draw that out here. I have to figure out what my labels are. What are our two units? A chef buys 6 pounds of salmon fillets for $51. So right away, by it saying $51, I know that it's going to be the cost. That's the first one.
Please come to the office.
And then my second one, buy 6 pounds of salmon fillets. So I'm going to do salmon in pounds is my label. Okay. So I know that the starting ratio is $51 to 6 pounds. So 51 is going to go for the cost, and it's 6 pounds. So I know that I need to get to 9 pounds. So I'm going to put that there because it's matching up with pounds. Now, this is going to look familiar to what we did on 5.1 and 5.2 on our ratio tables, where we tried to find a common number to put right here. But I'm going to show you how to do it by finding the unit rate. Okay, so what you do is you put your unit rate here. So we know that a unit rate always ends in 1, so it's going to be 1 pound. So to get from 6 to 1, we divided by 6. And so whatever we do to the bottom, we have to do to the top. So we have to divide by 6 on the top. You can use your calculator for this unit if you would like, but you still have to show your work. And so 51, like on your homework.
Parker please come to the office.
On your homework, even if you use your calculator, you still have to show your work on how you got that answer. Okay, so we have 51 divided by 6, which ends up being 8.5. And so if I did that, if I was writing out my work, I would do 51 divided by 6 equals 8.5. Just so we know what you calculated, that'll help us. Okay, so then to get from 1 to 9, I multiplied by 9, so I have to multiply this one by 9. 9 times 8.5 is 76.5, and so I would write over here 9 times 8.5 equals 76.5 to show my work. So I don't have to write it out if I use a calculator, but I still have to write every button I push on the calculator, so we know exactly what you did. Okay. So then this shows us our new rate, which is how much will the chef pay for 9 pounds of salmon fillets. So we're at 9 pounds, and so it costs $76.50. So our answer is $76.50 for 9 pounds of salmon. Okay, so that is our final answer for that question. So on the homework, it's going to have questions about the unit rate, but it's also going to have questions kind of like this about a chart where you don't have to find the unit rate. It's just asking for a rate. So it'll say like, let's see, it'll say like blank points for 3 notes. So it'll go over to 3 notes, and however many points it's equivalent to. That is it. So it'd be 450 points for 3 notes would be your answer. Okay, so there's going to be some questions like that. There's going to be some word problems. Just try the ratio table. It will help a lot. Okay.